But the Tigers have really struggled these last 3 or so series. So first, obviously they get swept by the Mariners, and that blows after losing the final game of the 3-game set against the Tampa Bay Rays. So that blows. And then they lose a 3-game set to the Texas Rangers. They managed to win on Sunday Night Baseball, Skubal on the mound, but they scored just 2 runs. So it's basically a pitcher's duel. Tarik Skubal is amazing. He's awesome. He pretty much won you that game. And then last night, they get shut out by the Pirates and Paul Skeens. Now, getting shut out by Paul Skeens is no shameful act for sure. But Paul Skeens didn't pitch all 9 innings, to be fair. So you do have to do a little bit, right? Not to mention that the Pirates, despite Paul Skeens being so dominant, I think he still has a losing record. I think he's like 5 wins or something like that, which is crazy. But now, and this game is still not over for sure. Pirates are up 3-0 again, and we're going on to, let's see, what is this? 5 games where the Tigers have scored just 3 total runs, and this is supposed to be a World Series contending team. This is supposed to be a top bullpen, a top pitching staff. Like, this is supposed to be a really good baseball team. But basically, since that Seattle series, it's been awful. And it goes back even further. So the Tigers going into June, and I know this goes back a little bit further, going into June, their bullpen was in the top 5 in MLB and ERA. Since then, it's now bottom 25. So your bullpen has really suffered. So obviously, I think bullpen arms are a major, major concern for this team to be adding at the trade deadline. But even more so now, I'm like, okay, well, now I really feel like we do need another bat in this lineup because, look, obviously we've been out without Kerry Carpenter for some time, but, I mean, Riley Green has really struggled these last few weeks or so. Spencer Torkelson, as good as a season as he's had, he's been a little bit quiet. Now, granted, he's got a double today, and I think he had a couple of hits. He might have had a few hits in the series against Texas. But either way, I mean, your guys that you are relying upon, they're just not hitting, and they're not hitting at the opportune times either. So, I mean, just this game, multiple doubles, no runs. So, my thing is, it doesn't help that obviously in the All-Star game, the Tigers didn't do much of a contribution, and in fact, probably helped the American League lose that game. But then, following that, you go and you have the worst weekend really in a while where you get shut out, you score 1 run, and then you win 2-1 in a game where Skubal started. So it's like, great. You won when the reigning AL Cy Young winner and probably repeat Cy Young winner is on the mound. I'd expect that because nobody's hitting him, basically. But if you put pretty much anybody else on the mound, whether it's Reese Olson, Casey Mize, or Jack Flaherty, all guys that we kind of need to, be at least decent, at least solid, at least good. And they're just not doing that. I mean, like in Casey Mize's case, look, is 3 runs the worst amount of runs given up? No, but he hasn't even pitched 3 innings yet. Jack Flaherty, is 3 runs the worst thing ever? Like the most insurmountable lead? No. But when your offense can't score, unfortunately, you do need Jack Flaherty to be better. And that's not Jack Flaherty's fault. That's the offense's fault. And in my mind now, going into this trade deadline, and maybe my mind will have eased as the week goes by. Maybe we'll come back. We'll win this game against the Pirates. We'll win the 3-game set. We'll go on a run and beat the Blue Jays. We'll beat the Diamondbacks. And then by deadline day on the 31st, I won't even be thinking about needing a bat. But when I see Eugenio Suarez hitting, he's already got over 30 home runs, I got to tell you, that's intriguing. Like, it's a whole lot. Eugenio Suarez looks a whole lot better in this lineup than Matt Vierling. I'll tell you that much. Or Parker Meadows, 2 guys who were not playing for much of the season at the start. And since coming up, might as well not be playing because they're both batting below the Mendoza line, despite the fact that Vierling had a great game on Sunday. You just need to be better, ultimately. And I know that goes without saying, but look, a look ahead here at the schedule just for the rest of the month. Obviously, we already mentioned you got the 2 more, including this game, you got 2 more games against the Pirates. You got a 4-game set against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays, who are in first place in their division. Diamondbacks, who are a team that are probably going to be selling, but if you give them life, maybe that gets you out of the Eugenio Suarez sweepstakes. But if you can just bury them, if you can just sweep the Diamondbacks and suck all the life out of them, not that GMs are just so flippant that, oh, okay, we lose a series right before the trade deadline. Now we're going to sell. But it might push them a little bit more than they would have been willing to go, right? And look, the Tigers the Tigers schedule the rest of the way, it was ranked as one of the, at least by winning percentage, and obviously that's not a full stat because winning percentages change. It was one of the lower ones left. And then a part of that is because the AL Central is not very good this year. So when you have to play teams like the Royals and the Twins, those are two teams that are below 500. But you still got games on the road against the Phillies. You still got games on the road against the Yankees and Cleveland at the end of the season, and Boston as well. Those are two teams you still got to play on the road. You got to play the Mets at home. Okay, you got to play, I was going to say the Marlins, but they're not very good this year. But you got to play some teams down the stretch. And if you're not even beating, the Rangers of the world, if you're not even beating the Pirates of the world, well, then in what sense are you really an AL contender? And that's not to say that everything is falling and that this team is totally fake. I don't think that. But they need to get it together. And maybe that spark can be you go out and you trade for Eugenio Suarez, or you go out and you trade for David Bednar. Speaking of the Pirates, right? You go out and you trade for an elite bullpen arm, or maybe you go out and you trade for a solid starting pitcher. I don't know who that would be specifically, but I feel like based on the just quietness this team has had, based on the team's lack of success since the All-Star break, they need a little bit of a wake-up call. And Scott Harris, he's got the keys to turning on that car and waking this team up. So, yeah, I would like to see an aggressive trade deadline, especially if they continue to kind of flounder here. I mean, I guess regardless, I wouldn't mind an aggressive trade deadline because I'd like to win the World Series in my life. That would be nice. Well, I guess I wouldn't win it. I'd like my team to win the World Series one time in my life. That would be nice. Hey, YouTube, if you like clips like that, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've got live shows every Tuesday night. Hope to see you there.